small wins are still wins. And when we start to count each and every single one of our small wins, even if it's things that might not seem like a big deal, it really helps us start realizing just how much power we have within ourselves, and just how much we actually can do. So this morning I took my car in to get it serviced. I had to get an oil change. I also had to get some brake pads replaced. And this was the first time that I had done that completely on my own, and even with confidence. A simple task like that, like taking my car to get serviced, always gave me so much anxiety. And it still did give me anxiety this time, but some things were different. I think it gave me, I think it gives me anxiety because it's a change in my routine. It's something that I'm not used to doing, and I don't like having a disruption in my routine. It makes me feel quite dysregulated. And it's also an unknown sensory experience. There's always lots of people waiting in there. I never know if it's going to be loud, what it's going to smell like, how bright the lights are going to be. I don't know if there's going to be snacks. And so this time I made sure that I came well prepared, and I came with my accommodations. I had my bag, I had my fidget roller in there. I also had my noise canceling headphones, and I brought myself some snacks. I brought some water. And that definitely helped with it. But one thing that I think also helped with it was a lot of the work that I've done around shame and around just working on loving myself in therapy. It's crazy that when we carry around an emotion that is so heavy, such as shame, it takes up a lot of our mental capacity, and it takes up a lot of our capacity to be able to do certain things. And I feel like with the work that I've done in therapy and being able to release a lot of that shame, I have just the slightest bit more of capacity for doing these things that in the past would give me so much anxiety, that I would stress over for weeks and weeks and weeks, that I would honestly obsess over, constantly doing all kinds of research, trying to figure out what's going to happen, what I need to do in these scenarios. And I'm really proud of myself for doing all of this by myself and waiting there for 2 hours by myself. And to someone who doesn't really have anxiety about these things, or to someone who doesn't really have sensory issues, or to someone who just kind of brushes these little tasks off as super easy or not really a big deal, they might not understand. But for those who understand how difficult these little tiny things that we have to do can be, I think you understand why it's a big deal that I do feel proud of myself, and that I was able to do this all alone. And it kind of got me thinking about all these ways in our life that we make progress, but we might not realize in the moment is progress. I'm not trying to say that therapy completely healed me. I'm not trying to say that I'm completely healed. What I'm trying to say is that this past year, learning more about my autism, learning more about ways that I can help myself and ways that I can accommodate myself, has made doing these things that my autism still makes more difficult, it has made these things just the slightest bit easier. And that adds up over time. And I'm really proud of myself for figuring out the ways that I can help myself, for working through a lot of heavy things that were going on internally that has given me a little bit more capacity to do these things. And I'm proud of myself for just following through with it and completing it. And so this is an invitation for you in your life to maybe reflect a little bit on what are some things that you have accomplished that you might not have taken note of. It can be the smallest of things that might not seem even like a big deal to you. Um, it could be trying something new that you've always wanted to. It could be trying a new food, even if you didn't like it, you still tried it, right? It could be calling someone to schedule any sort of appointment. Maybe it is taking your car in to get an oil change. Maybe it is calling the doctor's office back. There are a lot of ways that autism makes our life more difficult, and there are some ways that we can accommodate these things to make them easier for us, but that doesn't take away the difficulty. And the truth is that it's hard being an autistic person in this world. There's no way to bypass that reality, and that doesn't mean that I'm being negative. It just means that I'm being realistic. And with that, there are also a lot of ways that we can work on finding ways to honor our needs and to be true to ourselves. And so today, just kind of reflect on how you've been doing that. What are some things, no matter how small they might seem, that you feel proud of yourself for? And really try to hold those and try to just kind of focus on that feeling of being proud of yourself. I know for me, I spent a lot of my life feeling shameful about myself, in part because of my autism. And I realize now just how detrimental that was for my mental health, and how detrimental it was for my sense of self and my self-confidence. And I'm slowly working on building that back up, and one of the ways I'm doing that is by counting these wins and celebrating these wins. And I just thought I would share this with you today because I feel like there has to be something in your life that you can relate this to, something that you do feel proud of yourself for, even if it feels like it's not really a big deal. It is a big deal. You did that. And even though it was hard, even though it was challenging, even though it probably caused you some anxiety, you made it through that. And now you're on the other side of that, and you can look back and be like, I did that. That's evidence that that's evidence that I can do more of those type of things in the future. So just think about that today. Maybe you can write it down, maybe do like a journaling prompt with this. If that's not really your thing, just kind of think about it. Maybe you can talk it through with someone. And find a way to celebrate that win. Find a way to really use that win as evidence that you can do it. No matter how many times you've been told that you can't, no matter how many times you feel like you can't, you did. And even though it was hard, you still can.